Are you ready to write your first book, but you don't know how to get started and the whole thing seems overwhelming? Man, I've been there. I totally get it. So today I am talking about how to write your first book without getting overwhelmed. And by the end of this video, you'll be able to take the first step, maybe even your second, third step into writing your first book. Hi, I'm Nancy Basile and I write murder mysteries. You can get one of my free books using the link in the description below. Now, I am not an expert by any means. I have self-published 4 books, so I have some idea on how to write a book, but I am not an expert. However, I can share with you what I have done to break down that monumental task of writing a book into easy to swallow steps without getting overwhelmed. I am a person who is easily overwhelmed. My husband got me a new monitor recently and it was way too big. It overwhelmed me. So I said, give me my old monitor back. That's how easily overwhelmed I am. Anyway, it's like the old joke. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So like any big task, you got to break it down into smaller tasks. Easier said than done if you've never written a book, right? I get it. But books are just made up of chapters, which are made up of paragraphs, which are made up of sentences, and you get where I'm going with that. It sounds easy, but it's not. I understand. So we're going to try to make it a little bit easier for you just to get started, because I bet once you get started, you're going to be so excited to get the rest of it written that you're going to find your groove and you're going to get it done. I published my first book at 51. Sure, I wanted to write it sooner, but life gets in the way, doesn't it, for a lot of us? So I'm going to share how I got that very first book written, why I finally focused on getting it done, and how I finally got it finished. The year was 2020 and the pandemic. Everyone was writing a book, right? I was following an author who I really liked, and she invited a bunch of us to join her private Facebook group for aspiring writers. And she really inspired me to write that first book. On top of that, NaNoWriMo was coming up. What is NaNoWriMo? NaNoWriMo is National Novel Writing Month, and it happens every November. And it's essentially a group challenge. Your challenge is to write 50,000 words in the month of November. So between her encouragement and the idea that I could join this movement, this community, who also was trying to get 50,000 words written, I decided it was time to take the idea that had been rumbling around in my head and put it down on paper, or at least my computer screen. So in the month of November, I wrote that first book. Now, how did I do it? I used Google Docs, first of all. I don't use Google Docs anymore, but I used Google Docs, and I had a file per chapter. And I literally just opened it up and started typing. I wrote the scenes that I already had seen in my head first. I wrote them out of order. So whatever scene I wanted to write or knew I had to write, that's what I wrote. So once I had those key scenes written, then I went back through and thought, what do I have to write in between these to make the story work, to make the character development work? What has to happen in this book that I haven't written yet? And then I wrote those scenes and connected them all together. After I finished it, what did I do? Well, I had no idea how to go about self-publishing a book. Lucky for me, there was an online conference coming up in February called the Women in Publishing Summit. And I joined that online conference and I learned so much about being an author and being a self-published author. And I took what I learned from that and published my book in June of 2021, Roadside Homicide. The author that I followed, yes, her encouragement really gave me the kick in the butt I needed. But NaNoWriMo gave me the accountability and the tracking that I needed, because you can track your progress through the month and you can see how everyone else is doing, and you can sign up for an accountability partner. So accountability and tracking is really, really helpful in getting that first novel written. So I encourage you to find someone, a local writing group, an online writing group, even just a partner who will help keep you accountable. And I encourage you to use a spreadsheet or a program or even just Word to track how many words you've written. Because seeing how far you've come really helps you keep going. Let's break it down into actual techniques. The first technique I talked about was the one I used, where you write the scenes or the chapters that you already have planned out in your head. Get those done, get those out of the way. You don't have to start with the title. You don't have to start with page 1 and then work your way forward. You can write it however you want. So plunk those scenes on paper out of your head and start there. And then you can fill in the blanks later. Now, if you're what's called a pantser, where you write by the seat of your pants, maybe you do want to start with page 1. Maybe you just have a small idea and you just want to see where it goes. That's okay too. So just open up a blank Google Doc, a blank Word doc, anything, and just start writing. Just start typing. The key to being a pantser, though, is you can't go backwards yet. So once you start writing, don't edit as you go. Don't keep backspacing. Don't keep rereading it and rewriting it. No, 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 no. Once you start, you just keep going. You keep going. And when you get to the end, then you can go back and edit. Because there's a saying that's like editing is writing or writing is editing or something like that. So if you're going to pants it, don't edit as you go, because you will never get past chapter 1. You just type, 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 and then you can go back and fix it. That's the key to being a pantser. There's also another saying that the first draft of a book is for you, not the rest of the world. And I completely agree with that. You just need to get it out, and then you can massage it into the book that you want to share with the rest of the world. Another method I've heard about is using sticky notes. You take an idea or a scene or a quote or a line and you put it on a sticky note. And you clear a whiteboard space or a space on your wall or your door or wherever, and you just start posting sticky notes randomly of the things that pop into your head about this book, things that you want to happen, characters that you want to include, etc. You just pop them up there. And then once you start to have enough sticky notes, then you can move them around in order or into chapters or into an outline to start with. That's another method that you can use. I think that's a great method. Back in the day, I used to use index cards to write my research papers or my term papers. I would just write down random facts that needed to be included, random research things, one thought, one idea, one sentence per index card. And then when it was time to do the paper, I would reorder them into the outline I needed them to be in, and whoa, lo and behold, I had a paper. So the sticky note idea is the same kind of thing. Another way to do it is to use a web app or a program called Plottr, Plottr, and I'll link to that down below. I'm an affiliate of theirs because I love their program. So I do get a small commission if you sign up at no extra cost to you. I just want to make that clear, want to stay transparent. But Plottr has available to you bunches of outlines depending on what kind of book you're writing. If you're writing a romance, if you're writing a mystery, a detective story, a cozy mystery, thriller, fantasy, whatever you're writing, they might have an outline for you to start with, a plot or scene beats for you to start with. I've used it a couple of times to get myself started, and I don't stick to them inherently, but I find that some of their outlines give me ideas on where to start and then where to go. And if I get stuck, I can go back to that outline and see what I'm missing. I've also mentioned the snowflake method in a previous video, which I will post up here. The snowflake method is also very helpful because you literally start with 3 sentences about your book, and then you build from those 3 sentences in terms of plot and character. I used that to write my second book, and I found it very, very helpful. Now, when you actually start writing, I have found 2 things that are very helpful for me to stay productive. One is ambient noise. I can't write if there is music with words playing, but I can write if there's instrumental music or ambient noise, like coffee house noise or chatter or library sounds. And I'm going to link to 2 places below that I find great ambient noise. There's lots of YouTube channels devoted simply to ambient noise for every season, every holiday, every situation. And then there's a website that I've been to, Ambient Mixer, where you can literally like visit the Hogwarts library and have noises play in the background. I find that background noise to be very, very helpful. The other thing I find helpful when I'm writing is the Pomodoro method. And a couple of the channels that I listed below use videos that ding will keep you on track with the Pomodoro method. What is the Pomodoro method? It is when you work for a period of time and then take a break for a period of time. Not huge chunks of time. You don't work for an hour and then take a break for half an hour. No, 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 no. You work for like 20 minutes, take a break for 5, that kind of thing. And I find it really keeps me focused and helps me stay productive. So even if you're just using a timer on your own, you might find that Pomodoro method to be really, really helpful. It's almost like that break is a little treat for getting the work done. And by limiting the amount of work you're doing in that 20 minutes, you tend not to burn out and you tend to put away all the other distractions because you know you only have that amount of time to get work done. Do you think any of these methods are going to be helpful for you to get your first book written? Tell me in the comments below what you think you're going to do to get started. Is it going to be sticky notes? Is it going to be an outline? Is it just going to sit down and write like a pantser? Let me know. In the next video, I'm going to talk about some more of the tools I use to actually write beyond Google Docs or Word. I find them to be really helpful, especially as an author. So be sure to subscribe so you get that video. I hope you found something helpful in this video, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up and a like. And thank you for watching. I sincerely appreciate you.